Hi, my name's Nick, and today we're going to go through Edexcel Maths GCSE Paper 2H from June 2019. Let's go. Solve 14n is greater than 11n plus 6. So the first thing we do here is subtract 11n from both sides. This gives us 3n is greater than 6. Then we divide 3 from both sides and we get n is greater than 2. So that's our answer. Then on the number line below, show the set of values of x for which minus 2 is less than x plus 3, which is less than or equal to 4. So the first thing we do is we need to figure out what x is relative to. So we subtract 3 from both sides to get rid of that plus 3, and we end up with minus 5 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 1. The way we represent this on the number line is we draw a hollow circle on minus 5 because it shows that it's not equal to, it's only greater than, and then we draw a shaded circle for 1, which means that it's equal to or less than. So then we draw the line between them and we have our limits and we can move on. On the grid below, draw the graph of y equals 2x minus 3 for values of x from minus 2 to 4. What I did is I wrote a table where I did x for minus 2, 0 and 4 and then y for those x values. So minus 7, minus 3 and 5. I plotted all of these and then drew a line and that was my answer. Anna is planning a day trip for 195 students. She asked a sample of 30 students where they want to go. Each student chooses one place. The table shows information about her results. Work out how many of the 195 students you think will want to go to the theme park. So we've got 10 students who want to go to the theme park out of the 30 in the sample, so we've got 1/3 there. If we divide 195 by 3, we get 65, which means that in our total number of students of 195, 65 will want to go to the theme park. The assumption we make here is that the sample is representative or a random sample and that it will represent the 195 students. If not, the estimate will be wrong or inaccurate. A container is the shape of a cuboid. The container is 2/3 full of water. A cup holds 275 millilitres of water. What is the greatest number of cups that can be completely filled with water from the container? So the first thing to do is find the volume of the cuboid. This is going to be 30 times 6 times 19 because you've got the width times the depth times the height, and then you end up with 3,420 centimetres cubed. 2/3 of that is going to be the volume of the water, which leaves us with 2,280, and then we know that centimetres cubed is the same as millilitres, so we can divide 2,280 by 275 to find how many cups will be needed to hold all of the water. This gives us 8.29, and therefore the greatest number of cups that can be completely filled with the water is 8, because we can't have 0.3 of a cup be filled, we need to have completely filled cups. So 8 is our answer. So ABC is a right-angled triangle. Calculate the length of AB. Give your answer correct to 2 decimal places. So we have SOHCAHTOA, which is our way of remembering sine, cos and tan. In this case, we have the opposite that we want to find, and we're given the hypotenuse, and we have the angle 38 degrees. So we can say sine 38 equals AB over 16. We rearrange this to get 16 times sine 38 equals AB, and that rounds to 9.85 to 2 decimal places. Moving on, Sally used her calculator to work out the value of a number y. The answer on her calculator display began 8.3. Complete the error interval for y. The key here is that the calculator display began with 8.3. So what it's asking us is if we had digits after 8.3, what could it round to? So if we had a 0, it would round to 8.3. If we had anything below 5, it would round to 8.3. So if it was 8.35 or above, it would then round to 8.4. So in this case, our error interval for y would be 8.3 and 8.4 because we're looking at truncated values, and it's slightly different for truncated values versus uncertainties. So just be very careful there, okay? £360 is shared between Abby, Ben, Chloe and Dinesh. The ratio of the amount Abby gets to the amount Ben gets is 2 to 7, or A to B, as you could think of it as Abby to Ben. Chloe and Dinesh each get 1.5 times the amount Abby gets. Work out the amount of money that Ben gets. So the ratio of A to B is 2 to 7. We know that Chloe gets 1.5 times the amount that Abby gets. We also know that Dinesh gets 1.5 times the amount Abby gets, so we can write this as C equals 1.5A and D equals 1.5A. The sum of all of the values that they have is 360, so A plus B plus C plus D is 360. We then can replace C and D with values for A, because we've already figured this out. So A plus B plus 1.5A plus 1.5A equals 360. So we simplify this and we get B plus 4A equals 360, and then we rearrange to get A equals 2/7 of B. So we substitute our value for A into our equation that we just found, and we end up with B plus 4 times 2/7 B equals 360. When we simplify the left-hand side, we end up with 15/7 B, which means we can rearrange to solve for B. This is B equals 7/15 of 360, and that is 168, which is our answer. Next, we need to write 0.00562 in standard form. So just think about how many decimal place movements we need to do to the right. In this case, it's 3, and we'd get 5.62 times 10 to the minus 3. And you can test this with your calculator if you're not sure. Next, we need to write 1.452 times 10 to the 3 as an ordinary number. So in the same way, we just move 3 to the right, and we know that it's going to be 1,452. The circumference of circle B is 90% of the circumference of circle A. Find the ratio of the area of circle A to the area of circle B. So we're given the length scale factor, which is 0.9, because 90% of the circumference of circle A is the circumference of circle B. So the area scale factor is going to be 0.9 squared, which is 0.81. So our ratio for our scale factor is going to be 1 to 0.81 for the area. Then you can simplify this, so we get 100 times that, which is 100 to 81, and therefore we're going to have our ratio of the area of circle A to the area of circle B as 100 to 81. Next, square E has sides of length E centimetres, square F has sides of length F centimetres. The area of square A is 44% greater than the area of square F. Work out the ratio of E to F. So the first thing to do is make sure we know that the scale factor is going from F to E, so E is bigger than F, okay? This is important because we want to make sure our ratio is the correct way round when we write our answer at the end. So the area scale factor is going to be 1.44 because it's 44% greater. Then the length scale factor is going to be the square root of 1.44, which is 1.2. So therefore we know the length scale factor to go from F to E is going to be 1.2. So we write our ratio of E to F as 1.2 to 1, and then we can simplify this by multiplying both sides by 5, which gives us 6 to 5 as our final answer. Mary travels to work by train every day. The probability that her train will be late on any day is 0.15. Complete the probability tree diagram for Thursday and Friday. So we know that the probability of it being late and not late is going to be 1. It can either be one of the two, so 1 minus 0.15 gives us 0.85. So that is our probability that it's going to be not late. So now that we have the probability it's going to be late and not late, we just fill in the rest, as you can see here, and then we can move on. Work out the probability that her train will be late on at least one of these 2 days. So what we need to do is look at all of the situations in which she can be late on either day. And what we can see is that the only situation in which she's not late on either day is when she's not late the first day and not late the second day. So we can do 1 minus the probability of that happening, which is 1 minus 0.85 times 0.85, which leaves us with 0.2775 as our answer. The grouped frequency table gives information about the times in minutes that 80 office workers take to get to work. Complete the cumulative frequency table. So what we're going to do is add up each of our frequencies as we go. So 5 plus 30 gives us 35, 35 plus 20 gives us 55, and so on, and you end up with the table you can see here. You'll know you've done it correctly because at the end it should say 80, because that's the amount of office workers there are in total. Now moving on to part B. On the grid, draw the cumulative frequency graph for this information. So what we need to do is write out all of our points that we're going to need for this graph. So we've got 25, 40, 35, 60, 55, 80, 70, 178, and 120 and 80. So we plot all of these points on our graph, and then we just join them all up using straight lines. And you don't need to worry about 0, 0 or going past, because it says in the mark scheme, ignore the left of the first point and right of the second point. So just do it as I've done here. Then use your graph to find an estimate for the percentage of these office workers who took more than 90 minutes to get to work. So we need to read off our graph here. So we go up from 90 and then off to the left, and we can see that the cumulative frequency is 74. We need to know the workers who take more than 90 minutes. So we do 80 minus 74 to get 6, then 6 divided by 80 times 100 to give us 7.5, because that gives us the percentage of the office workers who took more than 90 minutes to get to work. OAB is a sector of a circle with centre O and radius 7 centimetres. The area of the sector is 40 centimetres squared. Calculate the perimeter of the sector. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So the area of the whole circle would be pi times 7 squared, which is 49 pi or 153.9 centimetres squared. We know that the area of this sector is 40 centimetres squared. So we do 40 divided by 153.9, and that gives us 0.259. So now we have a sense of what proportion of the circle this sector occupies. So we do 0.259 times 2 pi 7, which is the perimeter of the circle, and this gives us 80 over 7, or 11.42 centimetres. So we now have the outer arc of the sector. Then we need to add the radii for both sides, so OA and OB, and we get 7 plus 7 plus 11.42, which gives us 25.42, and our answer is therefore going to be 25.4 because it's 3 significant figures. Show that 6 plus x plus 5 divided by x squared plus 3x minus 10 all divided by x minus 1 simplifies to ax minus b over cx minus d, where a, b, c and d are integers. So we can write out the equation and we just flip the right hand side because we've changed it from a divide to a multiply sign. Okay. Now that we've done that, we can think about simplifying our denominator. So we've got x squared plus 3x minus 10, and this simplifies to x plus 5 times x minus 2. Now that we have that, we can then put that all together and we end up with x plus 5 times x minus 1 over x plus 5 times x minus 2. So now that we have that, we can simplify by taking away the x plus 5 terms because they're common to the numerator and the denominator. That leaves us with x minus 1 over x minus 2. And then we need to make 6 have the same denominator as x minus 2. So this leaves us with 6x minus 12 over x minus 2 plus x minus 1 over x minus 2. Then we simplify and we end up with 7x minus 13 over x minus 2, and there's our answer. A car moves from rest. The graph gives information about the speed, v meters per second, of the car t seconds after it starts to move. Calculate an estimate of the gradient of the graph at t equals 15. So we need to look at t equals 15 and then look at where the graph is at that stage. Then we draw a straight line that we draw as a tangent on that graph. Then we can take our limits from that line and get the most extreme values because this will give us the most accurate assessment of the gradient. So in my case, I had 24.525 as my most extreme point on the right hand side and 0.5, 7.5 as my most extreme value on the left hand side. Then to find the gradient, we do change in y over change in x, so 25 minus 7.5 over 24.5 minus 0.5. This simplifies to 17.5 over 24, which is then 0.729 as my answer. Describe what your answer to part 1 represents. The answer is acceleration because this is a speed-time graph and we found the gradient of the speed-time graph, which is therefore acceleration. Work out an estimate for the distance the car travels in the first 20 seconds of its journey. Use 4 strips of equal width. So we need to look at our graph and we can read off the trapeziums that we're going to get. So we have the 20 seconds at the beginning, and to make them all equal widths, we're going to have 5 seconds as our interval. So we read off the graph at each point. So we've got 5, 4, 10, 12, 15, 18 and 20, 20. So we can use these to calculate our area. So we do a triangle at the beginning because it's not a trapezium. So we've got 5 times 4 over 2 because that's half base times height, and that gives us 10 meters. Now we have a trapezium, we do half the sum of the parallel sides and we times the distance between them. So we have a half times 4 plus 12 times 5, and that gives us 40. And then we can move on to the next trapezium. So we have a half times 12 plus 18 times 5, which gives us 75. And then we do the final one, which is a half of 18 plus 20 times 5, and that gives us 95. And we add them all together, that gives us our estimate, and now we can move on. Make m the subject of the formula f equals 3m plus 4 over m minus 1. fm minus 1 equals 3m plus 4. Here I've just multiplied both sides by m minus 1. I then expanded to get fm minus f equals 3m plus 4. We then subtract 4 from both sides and we get fm minus f minus 4 equals 3m. Then we have minus f minus 4 equals 3m minus fm because we've subtracted fm from both sides. Then we can substitute m from the right hand side to leave us with m times 3 minus f, and then we divide 3 minus f from both sides to give us minus f minus 4 over 3 minus f equals m, and that is our answer. The straight line L has the equation 3y equals 4x plus 7. The point A has coordinates 3 minus 5. Find an equation of the straight line that's perpendicular to L and passes through A. So L is 3y equals 4x plus 7. We can then rearrange to get y equals 4/3 of x plus 7/3. So our gradient here is 4/3. The perpendicular gradient is going to be the negative reciprocal of 4/3, which means it's minus 3/4. So for our perpendicular line, the gradient is going to be minus 3/4. So we have y equals minus 3/4 x plus c. A is 3 minus 5, so we can substitute these values into our new equation because we know this perpendicular line lies on the point A. So minus 5 equals minus 3/4 3 plus c. And then we rearrange for c and we end up with minus 11 over 4 equals c. So y equals minus 3/4 x minus 11 over 4. There are some small cubes and some large cubes in a bag. The cubes are red, all the cubes are yellow. The ratio of the number of small cubes to the number of large cubes is 4:7. The ratio of the number of red cubes to the number of yellow cubes is 3:5. Explain why the least possible number of cubes in the bag is 88. So 88 is the lowest common multiple of 11 and 8, the sum of the ratio of small to large cubes and red to yellow cubes respectively. So what I'm saying here is 4 plus 7 is 11, 3 plus 5 is 8, and the lowest common multiple of 11 and 8 is 88. So that is why we have 88 as the least possible number of cubes in the bag. Next, all the small cubes are yellow. Work out the least possible number of large yellow cubes in the bag. So we're told already that 88 is the smallest number of cubes we can have in the bag. So we've got our ratios of 4 to 7 and 3 to 5. So then if we scale these up to make our 88, we then multiply 4 to 7 by 8, because the total there's 11, so we multiply by 8. And we multiply the ratio of 3 to 5 by 11. So we have 32 to 56 and 33 to 55. Therefore, we know there's 55 yellow cubes and 32 small cubes. We're told that all of the small cubes are yellow, so there's going to be some large yellow cubes left over. So we do 55 minus 32 to get 23, which is the number of large yellow cubes. So 23 is our answer. The points A, B, C and D lie on a circle. C, D, E is a straight line. BA equals BD, CB equals CD, angle ABD equals 40 degrees, work out the size of angle ADE. You must give a reason for each stage of your working. So I've marked theta as ADE here. 180 minus 40 equals 140 degrees. This is the angles in a triangle summed to 180. So what I've done here is you can see ABD adds up to 180. We've been given 40, so we know that the sum of the base angles is going to be 140, and that's what I talk about next. So 140 divided by 2 is 70 degrees, which is ADB and DAB, and angles at the base of an isosceles triangle are equal. So BCD equals 180 minus 70 equals 110 degrees, because opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add to 180. But we need to find what BDC is, so we do 180 minus 110 over 2, which gives us 35 degrees, and that's because the angles in a triangle sum to 180, and angles at the base of an isosceles triangle are equal. 180 minus 70 minus 35 equals 75 degrees, which is ADE, because the angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. So just make sure you're really precise with what you say in each of the justifications for each reason, because this gives you at least 2 of the marks in the question, so just make sure you're really careful, okay? The diagram shows a triangular prism. The base ABCD of the prism is a square of side length 15 centimeters. Angle ABE and angle CBE are right angles. Angle EAB is 35 degrees. M is the point on DA such that DM to MA is 2 to 3. Calculate the size of the angle between EM and the base of the prism. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. So the ratio of DM to MA is 2 to 3. 2 plus 3 is 5, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. So we know that we need to multiply by 3 to get the true lengths of DM and MA. We end up with 6 to 9, so we know DM is 6 centimeters and MA is 9 centimeters. The triangle MAB, which you can think of as looking top down on the triangular prism, is going to have a base of 9 centimeters of MA, and AB is 15 centimeters. So to find MB, we use Pythagoras' theorem, and we end up with 9 squared plus 15 squared, all square rooted, which is 17.5 centimeters. Next, we can look at ABE, which is just the side of the triangular prism. The angle is 35 degrees for EAB, and the base AB is 15 centimeters. So we can use tan, because we want to find the opposite, which is EB. So tan 35 degrees equals EB over 15, which implies 15 tan 35 degrees equals EB. Therefore, EB equals 10.5 centimeters. Next, we can look at EMB, which is looking at top down on the triangular prism, and we know MB because we figured that out, and we've just figured out EB as well. So now that we have that, we can find theta using tan. So tan theta equals EB over MB, which is 10.5 over 17.5, and then we can inverse tan both sides. So the inverse tan of 10.5 over 17.5 equals theta, which is 30.98. We need it to 1 decimal place though, so it's 31.0 degrees. CDEF is a quadrilateral. CD equals A, DE equals B, and FC equals A minus B. Express FE in terms of A and or B. Give your answer in its simplest form. So the first thing I do is write out the vectors. So FC is A minus B, CD is A, and DE equals B, and I've put those on the diagram. Therefore, if we add these all up, we'll end up with FE, which is A minus B plus A plus B, which is 2A. Next, M is the midpoint of DE, X is the point on FM, such that Fx to Xm equals n to 1, CXE is a straight line, work out the value of n. So FM is equal to Fe plus EM. This is the same as 2A minus a half B, because remember M is halfway, which means that DM is going to be a half of B. Moving on, CE equals CD plus DE, which is A plus B. CX is equal to CD plus DM plus MX, which is A plus a half B minus 1 over n plus 1 times 2a minus a half b. It's 1 over n plus 1, because remember the ratio of fx to xm is n to 1, so therefore that little bit at the end of xm is going to be 1 over n plus 1 to give us our ratio, okay? So this simplifies to a times n minus 1 over n plus 1 plus b times n plus 2 over 2n plus 1. Now we need to look at CE and CX. So remember CXE is a straight line, so therefore the ratio of the coefficients for CE and CX are going to be the same. We've calculated CE and seen that the coefficients are 1 to 1, i.e. before A and before B it's just 1 to 1. So therefore for CX that means that n minus 1 over n plus 1 is going to be equal to n plus 2 over 2n plus 1. So we can simplify this where we make the denominators the same. So that means the numerators are going to be equal, which is 2n minus 2 equals n plus 2. Therefore 2n equals n plus 4 by adding 2 to both sides, and therefore n equals 4, which is our final answer. There we have it. Paper 2H from June 2019 is done. If you would like to see any more papers from November 2019 or June 2019, just hit the links here. And if you need a bit of extra help with your maths and you need someone to help you, make sure to hit the link in the description, because I'll be offering online group maths tutoring classes from the 24th of June. I'd love to see you there. Make sure to hit those videos and I will see you in the next one.